dream of turning your blog into a platform that can help you leap into your dream life? Or how about wondering how successful bloggers actually do it? How do they make it happen? Our next guest is one of those uber successful bloggers. I'm super excited. I met her on a trip recently to Minneapolis. By day, she's a copywriter, a blogger for hire, and an internet awesomifier who helps small businesses and self-employed creatives make a name for themselves on the internet. She has the inside track on how to create content for people that other people are going to want to forward to all their friends and share on Facebook. She's also been published in Forbes.com, Glamour Magazine, and ProBlogger, and has an audience of over 11,000 daily readers. Hello. By night, I love this part, by night, she puts on her other cape. She plots her next trip, goes on adventures with her friends, eats entirely too much cheese, and attempts to make her cat wear outfits. Please welcome Sarah Von Bargen of Yes and Yes. Woo!
Hello. Hi, friends. Hi.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've been really excited about this.
Awesome.
Yay. All right, let's dive in.
Yes.
The biggest question, I think, for anybody new to blogging or plugging away at it is really how to get started. How do you make the machine go forward?
Sure. Well, I think probably the basic question that you need to answer as a blogger or as anyone who is starting on your own is what are you hoping to accomplish? What are you going to contribute to the conversation? So obviously, if you, like I wanted to create a space on the internet for adventurous, intelligent, funny women, and I wanted to talk about lots of different topics in a funny, intelligent way. And when I started my blog, there were not a lot of spaces on the internet that talked about different topics in a smart, funny way. There were a lot of niche blogs, but not lots of overarching blogs. So that's what I did. If you want to talk about feminism, if you want to talk about parenthood, if you want to talk about solo travel, basically, number one, what do you want to talk about? And then number two, you need to figure out how you want to talk about it, how often you want to talk about it, and what your goals are. Are you doing this to build community? Are you doing this to make money? Are you doing this to get speaking gigs? So just like any business, what are you trying to accomplish and what do you want to talk about is basically where I would start.
Right. I think that's really valuable because I have found so often it's easy to get confused and think, well, I want to talk about this, but I like this too, and I want to talk about that too. And so I think there's something to be said for focus. Have you ever found that maybe you want to go off on a tangent and go talk about something else totally unrelated, and then you pull yourself back out of that, or does that not really happen?
Well, if I am in a very unique situation, and Yes is pretty unique in that the blog mostly consists of things that I personally find interesting, which is not a business model that works for everybody. So, I mean, my situation is unique, but there are definitely, I have a lot of clients and I have a lot of friends who are fashion bloggers or self-love bloggers or life coaches. And there are ways to talk about different topics and couch them in terms that work with your overall theme. But if you are only a fashion and style blogger, it can be a little bit weird if all of a sudden you're talking about food, or if you're a relationship therapist and then all of a sudden you're talking about high heels, it can be a little bit weird. You can talk about all the different topics you want, but you need to make sure that you couch it in terms that make sense to your audience if you are, a niche blogger.
Right. It's like finding that connection to make it work. I like that.
Yeah.
As somebody who's, I've done a lot of the marketing courses with Marie Forleo and Eric Liramark, what are your thoughts on, and now I know you blog like 7 days a week, or at least your blog is active with posts 7 days a week. How important is an editorial calendar to somebody starting off as really wanting to dive into build their blog?
It is incredibly important. And it should be said that I blog 7 days a week, or I should say I have posts that go up 7 days a week. If you look at my calendar, you'll realize that probably 3 of those posts are interviews or guest posts or main travel guides that I myself have not written. Also, you don't need to post 7 days a week. I'm a weirdo, you don't need to do it. But it is incredibly important to have an editorial calendar and stick to it, especially if you're a consultant or a business, because it proves to us that you're reliable. If I am looking for a life coach and I go look at your blog and you have like 3 posts up and one is 6 months old and one is 9 weeks old and one is from yesterday, I'm gonna think they don't have their act together. Like, why would I trust somebody with my money and my emotional well-being when they can't even stay on top of a blog? I'm a total hard ass. Maybe other people don't think that way, but that's how I think. Like, if you can't stay on top of that, why would I believe that you can stay on top of the rest of your professional life? So I think it's important to, and you can have a blog that really supports your business and only do it once a week. My small business blog is every Wednesday. It's once a week. And so 4 times a month, and at least one of those posts is a link roundup, and at least one of them is a guest post. So realistically, I have only written 2 posts, but it goes up every Wednesday, and it goes out in my newsletter, and it shows I'm taking myself seriously. I'm connecting with other people. I can still really accomplish a lot only blogging once a week. So you need an editorial calendar, but you can do it once a week.
I like that.
You need to stick to it.
Yeah. So it is very important, but there are ways to kind of bend that to your will as well. Like, the idea of the link roundup. It doesn't always have to be writing this big post.
Yeah. No.
How much time do you personally spend sitting at your computer, writing content, rounding up links, working on photos, whatever that part of it is? But how much time do you spend sitting at your computer?
Well, it's hard to say because obviously, like, in addition to Yes and Yes and my client work, I also genuinely like the internet just as a hobby. Like, I, Sarah Von Bargen, enjoy watching cat videos not related to my job. So it's kind of hard to, like, and because Yes and Yes is just my life. So it's kind of hard to say what's work related and what's not. Realistically, I'm probably at the computer, like, probably about 6 hours a day. But a lot of the stuff that I find for link roundups are things that I'm reading on the internet. I find them. I just put in my favorites folder. I'm not actively looking. I don't say, I will now go find links and then go do it. But I would say I'm probably on the computer about 6 hours a day, including blogging time, social networking time, client work, personal internet perusal, probably about 6 hours a day. It could be less. Like, sometimes when I'm feeling really productive, I can probably be on the computer for as little as 3 hours a day. Like, when I'm traveling, I'm only on the computer about 3 hours a day. Sometimes it can go up to 10, but it's not too bad. But it is not. I've been doing this for almost 5 years, so I've got it down to kind of a science at this point.
I like that. And speaking of traveling, let's get to the good part.
Yes.
How many weeks out of the year, say, do you find that you can head out and go traveling, and you're blogging while you're traveling?
Yes, yeah. I travel about 3 months a year, and usually that's broken up into 2 or 3 trips. And it should be said that I work while I travel. I partially because I'm still working on my business model in a way that I could not work while I travel, but also I genuinely like working, and I love my job, so it's fine. So usually what I do is I get up in the morning and I work from like 7 to noon, and then from noon onward I'm out doing stuff. But yeah, I usually travel about 3 months out of every year, and I can work from anywhere that has an internet connection. Sometimes it's hard because of time differences and like conference calls, and I'm in Stockholm and they're in Minneapolis, and that's kind of hard. But yeah, I'm very, very fortunate that it's worked out that I have the freedom to do that.
That's great. I think that's a dream for a lot of people.
Yeah. It is pretty. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty great.
That's awesome. And for me, as a video fanatic, where do you see video as a tool for a blog strategy?
I think it's incredibly important. It is one of my goals for 2013 to make at least 12 videos. I think especially if you're someone who your personality is a big part of your brand or your company, I think it's incredibly important. I think it's really good for establishing trust and establishing yourself as an expert, which are 2 of the biggest reasons that you need to have blogs. And I think if part of your brand is being funny or is being relatable, which most brands, I would hope it is part of your strategy, it's a really good way to communicate that, because not everybody's a writer and not everybody is good at communicating their personality in writing. And I think video is a really good shortcut for those people who know that they're funny, or they know that they're engaging, or they know that they are persuasive but can't quite figure out how to make that happen through words. Video is a good way to do that.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, I've seen such a difference from clients that I've coached who were simply writing in their blog, and then they switched over to video, and suddenly people were saying, "Oh, now I feel like I know you."
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Such an interest, such a different feel right away. You know, it just changes up the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You already mentioned you've been doing this for about 5 years full time.
Yeah.
And I would love to know, what was it like the first time how did you monetize? Was it through advertising that you actually monetized your blog? And who was the first advertiser? And were you just like doing a dance in your home, just going, whoa?
Well, I actually don't remember who my first advertiser was. That's terrible. Well, I think I started monetizing maybe about 2 years ago. Around the same time I started advertising, I wrote my first ebook, the Wanderlust Workbook. And so those were probably the first things. And I remember I worked so hard on that ebook, and it's a great ebook. It's hugely underpriced and way too long. Like, I should have broken it up into like 3 ebooks and charged twice as much, but it's too late now. So you guys should buy it. It's really good. Anyway.
I saw it. It looks great.
It is really great. It should be like 1/3 as long and twice as much. But too late now, so buy it now. It's cheap. But I remember putting that together and selling it and I paid for my flight to India and with the profits of that. And I was just like, I did it. Like, I remember, and I mean, I've been getting paid to write since I was 20, and I used to work in marketing and advertising. So I come to blogging I'm very fortunate to come to blogging with already a skill set in place. Right. But even when you know that, it's still amazing when it works out and it comes to fruition like that. And you see all your hard work really coming into having it work out. It's amazing. It's really fantastic.
I love that. Okay, last question, which kind of ties into that one, which is, what is a realistic, and this might be a complicated answer, what's a realistic amount of time to expect to go from being a new blogger to being a successful monetized blogger?
Well, I think that is a complex question. I think in terms of becoming a blogger who can support yourself exclusively through money made off your blog, I would say it's not impossible, but it is incredibly difficult. I do not support myself exclusively through my blog. I make about 60 to 70% of my income through my consulting and copywriting work. And I do know bloggers who support themselves exclusively through their blog, but I know maybe 10 to 15 of them. Most of the people I know who support themselves, they do consulting work or writing work, and the blog ties into that work. Right. If you're talking about having a blog where you can make, a few to several $100s a month off of things on your blog, I would say realistically, I would say maybe at least a year and a half, realistically 2 to 2.5 years. And that is with really beautiful photography, a developed editorial calendar, active networking, active brand pitching. And I think I've said this elsewhere on the internet. When I first started Yes and Yes, I spent every lunch break, I was a teacher, and I spent every lunch break, 45 minutes for 2.5 years, actively networking with other bloggers, leaving comments, responding on Twitter, emailing them directly. 45 minutes, 5 days a week, 2.5 years. And so I did the math, and that's something like 375 hours of networking. And that doesn't even include writing blog posts. That was just networking. So, I mean, it is doable. It's totally doable. But what I say to clients is, I think the best way to approach blogging is, it is a platform to find clients. It is a way to develop your voice or your aesthetic. It's a way to network with people. It's a way to establish yourself as an expert. It's an opportunity and a doorway. It is not a means to an end exclusively to make. It's not a get rich quick scheme by any stretch of the imagination. So it's the way I always couch it is, it is an opportunity and a platform. It's not a job.
I love that. Words to live by.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm a really positive person, but I also think it's important to be realistic. with everyone. Like, I would hate for someone to quit their job thinking that they're going to start a blog and make $1 million, because it's pretty unlikely that's going to happen.
Right, right. All right, well, thank you so much, Sarah. And I think everyone needs to go visit Yes and Yes. The web address is down here. And thank you again. I'm so glad I got to meet you, and your blog is awesome. And everybody needs to go get the Wonderlust workbook.
Oh, thanks. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah.